Man, it's been a couple years. Last time I talked to you in 1990 had just released. It's been a couple years now. And dude, things have not slowed down. Things have not cooled off. You've gotten hotter. Things are getting bigger. Things are getting better. You've got a new album coming out first week of May. Single is doing really well. And how does it feel to be Blacklight District right now?
I love it, man. Good to see you again, bro. The second you mentioned the 1990 thing, again, I meet so many people and do so many interviews. Half the time I'll come back on and be like, I know this guy. I'm pretty sure. Then right when you
Right?
said that, I was like, yep, I knew it. I knew it. Thank you for that. Yeah, no, everything's going good. The tour starts a week from tomorrow. Again, the new album. I guess I got double the shirt and the CD here.
Yes.
Yeah, man, it feels pretty good. All coming from the place of again, that 16-year-old that had a dream and to be here, being able to make music that people connect to, I couldn't ask for anything else for sure.
Yes, man, tell me about You Can Do Better. The song, old good, the song kicks ass. It is catchy. It is Blacklight District to the core. I have listened to it, no lie, 5 times today alone.
Nice.
I do, oh, God, I absolutely love it. Tell me about the song, man.
So okay, about let's say 10, 11 months ago, I think it was right in early May, so almost a year ago. I came down here where I'm at right now, which is my studio slash rehearsal place slash like
Mhm.
tour equipment. It's like my headquarters, so to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah.
And I did a recording with my friends in a band called Judd Hoos, and we did this song called
Okay.
"Give Me Life." Um, and that kind of was the first time in a couple years where I produced and mixed something because I've been working with my guy Brett Hessla, the producer who did 1990 and stuff like that. But anyways, yeah, I started just this whole hook of the "you can do better," like it was always in my head. And me and my guitar player Justin were out in Idaho doing a festival, and I just started singing him the hook. He came up with a couple guitar chords that we recorded literally on like a voice memo on the phone, and
Right.
then kind of just set it there. And then I probably 6 months later, when it was like, okay, I think the time is now to start maybe putting some music together. That was the first idea, just because there was a bit of a structure. And originally it was a little different. So, like the low voice part, originally it wasn't a low voice and it was like twice as many. So you can do better, you can do without the break in between. And something happened where I was kind of trying to edit something and I put one of them in that low voice and I accidentally didn't put it in the middle part. So it came the you can do better with the pause in between. Dude, the second that happened, I was like, oh my God, like, dude, like no one was here, but I was like, this is it. I started like freaking out and it kind of just all happened from there. But I'm glad you like it. Everyone kind of says it feels on brand for sure.
It does. This dude, musically especially, like this fits so well.
I love that
Um,
guitar riff too. Just
yes.
even for how simple it is, it just to
Yeah.
me that riff and that little hook, that was the whole vibe right there.
Yes. I can usually kind of have an idea maybe 5 to 10 seconds into a song if I'm like, I'm feeling this is good, or I'm like, it's good. As soon as that hits, I'm like, oh, oh,
Awesome, man.
oh
That is so
man.
cool. And again, that's
Yes.
as an artist that you think about, it's like, how is, because again, I can hear something one way, again, going back to this low vocal hook thing. It's like, okay, how am I going to get, because if that's a minute into the song, you have to get them there, really. You know what I'm saying? So there was a couple versions where I changed the intro and maybe had it start a little different, but it
Yep.
always kept going back to the original way it was put together, which is what you hear now. So yeah, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're coming off of You're Welcome, which fucking killer. I listened to
Yes.
that one today because I haven't listened to it in a while, but that one also like you just it seems like you just kept the momentum. At this point, after all these years, do you have an idea on how you want Blacklight District to sound as a brand? Like, have you come down to like this is how it sounds. This is my sound. This is the vibe. Is it at that point right now?
That's such a great question. And I could say it is that for sure, but it wasn't always that way. It really wasn't until kind of like, I guess, so like the You're Welcome album, the original version was a bit more like hip hop and electronic based instead of like such heavy guitars and things like that. So I think kind of doing so many different styles and just trying to find myself as an artist, really, you kind of get to that point where it's like, okay, I am a rock guy. Guitar is just in my soul, but I also love all this other stuff. I love a lot of the sounds of today's production in pop and hip hop and
Mhm.
all of that stuff. So the way I look at it is, again, I could be wrong, but I feel like vocally, that's going to keep everything consistent. The dark melodies, the lyrics, and really the vibe of the vocals, whether it's on a rockin' track or more of a hip hop based track. Now I feel like it's a little more defined. So again, going back to like you can do better. Absolutely, I feel like yeah. On a, I don't mean to blab and blab, but I feel like it's definitely on a roll into finding like my sound for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And the views are like it's doing really, really well right
They're
now.
growing,
I
man.
mean,
They're
yes, I
growing.
mean,
I always
but
look at it, not to interrupt, but I
no, you're
always look at it in a long-term plan because now, okay, a mainstream mega star, let's say Taylor Swift, since she's got the new album out this week, it's going to sell a bazillion copies the first week. I think it already did 1 billion streams, which has never
it's
been done on
insane.
Spotify the first
Yeah,
week,
yeah,
which of course you always want good first week numbers, but that being that I'm not necessarily an A-list pop star, I don't have to focus as much on the first week has to kill it. So if there can be 10,000 views, which to some people might be nothing, to other people might be everything. I look at it as like, as long as it stays consistent and
yeah,
shows steady growth, that's all that matters. Because if it's at 40K or 30K right now, that doesn't mean that a year from now, it's not going to be at 5 million. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And right
for sure.
now, I think I looked today, it's close to 40,000. It's only been a few weeks. To me, like, holy
Yeah.
shit, that's a lot of fucking views in just a few weeks. People are
And no
feeling it.
radio, no like
Yeah.
Minecraft video. So when you consider that there's nothing really pushing it aside from itself, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, as the artist, this is I feel like fans forget like you're the artist, this is your art. You breathe life into this song and into this music. As the person that does that, when you see those numbers and that interest and that love, what does that do for you when you see that?
That's probably like the biggest dopamine hit you could ever get. Like in kind of a joking, like drug terminology way, they
Right.
say
Yeah, I know
people
what you mean.
that you chase that high in a way. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So one of my people on my management team, Clinton, who's also my bass player and does a lot of videos, he always says, like you kind of don't realize in the moment how like you're gonna look back on this at some point. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I'm just, man, at the end of the day, I'm just so grateful for everything. Um, yeah, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
It is really cool because I mean 1990 did really well, but to see I remember talking to you at that point and then seeing the progression and the continued
Yeah,
popularity success is really, really cool to see. Just as somebody that's spoken with you in the past about your music. In
yeah.
1990 and You're Welcome did so well. What was your mindset going into this one? Because what, May 3rd? So next week.
Yes, sir.
By the time this posts, it will be this week. How does it,
Yeah.
where were you at going into You Can Do Better?
So, okay, I'm really glad you asked this.
Yeah.
I earlier this week, I did an interview with a magazine called Spin. I'm sure you've heard of them, probably a
I'm
big
aware. Yeah.
major publication.
Huge.
I've never been in there
Congrats, by the
before.
way.
Thank you. It was huge. I'm
Yeah.
still like, I go on there every day waiting for them to post it and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was kind of they asked a question similar, and I didn't answer it how I wanted to. So you kind of asked it in a little different way. But that's the thing. I've made many albums now. I think I looked and I have like at least 80 songs released over the years. So obviously there's different phases of being a younger guy, like just trying to like get your feet wet, so to speak. There's having a bit of a moment like Cold as Ice and the struggle early on, having those big Minecraft videos, watching the streaming spike. It's like, wow, like this is crazy, seeing all these people check it out. But the hard part is not as much getting there as it is staying there, because it's easy, especially these days, to have a quick flash in the pan, big song comes out, and then you kind of never hear anything from the people again. That's what I always worried about, because as an artist at that time, just using a song like Cold as Ice for an example, It's like, okay, it's getting played on the radio. It's got 70 million Minecraft views. It's got 20 million Spotify things, blah, blah. How can I possibly top that? How can I make a song that's better than that? And early on, I would always feel like that's probably as good as I'm going to be able to do, right? But then every time it's like something happened. It's like, okay, you can keep doing it. And I just went into this with not as much. I don't feel like I'm having to scratch and claw to secure my spot as much as I was in the earlier days, where it's like, okay, it's not a for sure thing that this is going to be a long-term career. You get what I'm saying? So it's like
Yep.
every album is like life or death. And I try not to lose that. Now I do feel a little more secure in the sense that I do have a fan base. There's going to be people listening to the music no matter what. So I just
Mhm.
try to use all the tools and maturity of the last decade to try to make the best product I can and the best just experience for the fan, because I know how it is to be the listener on the opposite side.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point. Like an artist releases a song or single that hits big, you never hear from them again, or they never do anything good. Like one hit wonders. Like my biggest thing is like when I fall in love with an artist's music or songs, I'm like they don't get the proper push and publicity behind it, and you down the road you find out they never stopped making music. Like
Oh,
they never went away. You just didn't know.
yeah.
So like thank God you always have good, especially right now, teams behind you pushing what you're doing to keep you in front of people. Because that's
Absolutely.
a lot of the battle and struggle right there is there's so many bands. Like I talked to Saving Abel one time. I had no idea they released a record before the one we were talking about. Like their label didn't promote it. Nobody knew. So, I mean, how much does that how much of a load does that take off of you having that team behind you to push what you're doing to team up with you? Like that's got to take a load off your shoulders.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And you're right. I feel like right now I do have probably the best team I've ever had together, not only in terms of like publicity and stuff like this, but just media in general. My distributor, which is a company called TuneCore, who kind of used to be the like do-it-yourself platform to get your music into the stores. And like me, they've grown over the years. And now when artists get to a certain level, they're able to help you out, hence the spin thing and other things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's funny you mentioning like artists who maybe kept releasing music, but people didn't know about it. That is also something I think about all the time when it's like, okay, so maybe some of the kids or whoever like found the early Minecraft videos and really liked it then. And then maybe they grew up a little bit, got into other things. Maybe they didn't necessarily follow along in not just the anime and Minecraft, but musically. And then maybe they see you again down the road and it's like, damn, there was 3 albums or something in between. That
Right.
used to really bother me, you know, but it just feels so different now where there's not such a shelf life where if the album's been out for 3 years, it can still be discovered as much that day than it could have back then. So again, when we keep that long-term play in mind, it's not as bad of a thing, I think.
It always bothers me when I go to see a show or photograph a concert and somebody like, oh my God, they're still around. I'm like, it's their job. It's what they do for work. They never
Yeah,
stopped. Yes, they still do what they did. Yes, like, and they're
right,
better
right.
now. Um, you mentioned a couple times the Minecraft videos. Like, that's a really cool concept that you guys teamed up to do back in the day. And watching some of them, it really kind of reminds me like Red versus Blue, that old school Halo
Oh, yeah.
animated video they used to do about 10, 15 years ago, but with music set to it. How did that whole thing come about? And how cool was it to see your music set to that type of a thing?
It was wild, man. It really started because if we go back over a decade now, the first single Blacklite District put out officially was a song called With Me Now. And at the time, 2013, 2014, on like Sirius XM Octane, which is still probably the biggest rock radio station in America. I mean, they played the shit out of this song 7, 8, 9 times a day. At the time, right before streaming came in, it was probably selling about 2,000 downloads a week, which at that time was like incredible. Everyone's like, oh my God. So you got to think too, I'm like 22 years old at the time. It's like, wow, like this is really crazy. I can't believe my first song is getting all this airplay, you know. But then a year or two later, the momentum kind of faded out. I was in a bad record deal and management deal, and there was just a bunch of basically bullshit, excuse my language.
It
Um,
happens.
and had to go back and forth with lawyers and stuff like that. So basically, I like to say that all the momentum got killed, and I almost essentially had to start from scratch with pretty much no money, like no label backing, no funding. So my thought was, how am I going to possibly be able to get this music in front of a mass of people without having a huge budget or something? So I would go on YouTube, type in my band name and song name. And I just so happened to see for that song with me now, a Nightcore, it was called, video that had 1 million views on it. And you got to think in your mind, it's like, damn, okay, 1 million views on this thing, right? I reached out to the guy. We started kind of doing one every month, partnered up. And again, there would be 1 million, maybe even up to 2 million views. But on the side where other videos would play, I would see Minecraft videos, 10 million views, 20 million, like, damn, you know? So long story short, I basically went on, found the like top 3 or 4 channels that did videos for music in the Minecraft world. One of them happened to be this guy, Rainimator. And we partnered up back then, and here we are 7 years later, 500 million streams, hands down, helped launch my career more than any of the traditional stuff.
It's insane how like when you go out of the box,
Yeah.
how crazy things can get.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
yeah, like most artists would never go there
Yep.
ever. It just wouldn't occur to them or cross their mind. But like,
And
it's
believe me, like
crazy.
the music executive. So even a few, like 5 years ago, when some of this Minecraft stuff was really popping off, I would talk to like my radio team, management, whoever it was, and it'd be like, dude, you guys got to check this out. And everyone say, oh, that's just a bunch of nerds on YouTube. That doesn't matter. And it would blow my mind that they would think that, because it's like,
Right.
if it's 1 million views on the song, it's 1 million views. End of story. You know what I'm saying?
The nerds
And
are onto something.
and then it got to the point where it's like, bro, those are my nerds. Don't you dare talk about them that way. And again, queuing all these years later, when I go out and do these tours, 99% of the people that come and they drive from hours and fly to get there are these kids who discovered the music through Minecraft and anime. And it's a community, man.
Yeah,
It's so amazing. I
it's
love it.
insane. Like my daughter is 12, Minecraft videos. Like
Yeah,
she's probably heard your songs.
probably
Like,
somewhere on there. Yeah,
like I just saw that 1990 hit #2 in Hungary. Like
yeah.
recent, like the record's been out for what 2, 3 years now, and it's still climbing the charts. How does that feel? You've got new music coming out, and you're still charting previous albums, literally all over the world internationally. Like, how does like
It's that right there, bro. Like,
yeah,
again, the 16-year-old in me that was obsessed with looking at the Billboard charts and seeing how many do you have to sell to get on the chart, how many spins. I mean, I was obsessed with that stuff, you know?
yeah,
So, yeah, I mean, and again, I only post a couple of them. Typically, I think on our app, we have an app that kind of shows you your stats, charting, stuff
right.
like that. I think in the last year, we've been on like 70 something charts in like 30 different countries. And it's mind blowing, man. And I tell so for example, someone on my team, shout out Henry, on Big Machine Agency. I send a
Yes.
group thread. I keep updated with like our charting. I sent a chart position that was a lower chart position. It was like 120 something. And I was just like, hey guys, here's like a lower charted thing, just passing along. And he said something to me that really resonated. He's like, man, don't worry that it's a low charting position. Imagine that 100,000 songs a day are uploaded to all these platforms. If you're in the top 200 in any country in the world,
Yeah.
something right is happening. And that just hit me so hard. So man, it's
Yeah.
incredible. Yep.
And one thing that I love going back to the new music is every record you released, it's eclectic. You've got some songs with rock songs, a couple songs with some rock, but hip hop infused into it, some ballads, just like there's so much going on diversity wise within the album. Like with You're Welcome, like Falling, Hard Pilled, like some of my favorites are on You're Welcome. And you don't hold back emotionally, like what you feel is what we're hearing, you know? So with You Can Do Better, with the record that's coming out here, how similar to the single is the rest of the album? Is it kind of similar to what we've had in the past, where a lot of diversity and eclectic, just a little bit of everything? Like, what are we looking at when we hear this record next week?
You know, I think it is a bit of that where you could say it's a little bit of everything. I couldn't say that there's just straight hip hop sounding tracks like a Falling that's more, you know, computer based, let's say. But
Hmm.
there's definitely elements in all of it. So I think for me, I would say that there's, three, four really heavy rockin' songs that you would think of when you think of Blacklight District, like We Are the Danger, Living in a Nightmare, some of those heavier type songs. But then there's stuff like You Can Do Better. The single that was right before You Can Do Better, a song called I Tried Today, which was a
Hmm.
recent Minecraft video as well. Stuff that's
Million
almost,
views.
yeah, I know, bro. Isn't that crazy? And like, it was like 3 weeks until it took, and that's it.
It's
I tell
insane.
my team all the time, like, without someone going on and spending like YouTube ads and to get 1 million views organically, holy shit, man.
No,
It's still mind blowing.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but like
No, no, no.
a fucking million views, man.
Yeah, man.
You were saying though, like a little bit of everything.
Yep. So yeah, there's a couple like I Tried Today is a bit more to me. I like to think it's a little classic rock influenced, but modern production. And again, it's if the vibe and message of Blacklight District is what you're into, I don't think this album will disappoint for
That is
sure.
awesome.